He's playing an active role in the cryptocurrency space as it matures, building his company Augur.net. They raised the equivalent of $5.3 million back many months ago, cashed out on a bunch of that to make things like payroll. But again, they're building this ecosystem built on the Ethereum blockchain, right, where you can go and essentially create markets and ledgers in those markets to bet against, certain future outcomes, whether it's, a sports related thing, a finance related thing, really, Jack, any related thing in the future.
This is The Top, where I interview entrepreneurs who are number one or number two in their industry in terms of revenue or customer base. You'll learn how much revenue they're making, what their marketing funnel looks like, and how many customers they have.
I'm now at $20,000 per top.
5 and 6 million. He is hell-bent on global domination. We just broke our 100,000 units sold mark.
And I'm your host, Nathan Latka. This is episode 764. Coming up tomorrow morning, we hear from best-selling author Cameron Herold. And I asked him, Cameron, what allows you to charge $80,000 per year for one consulting gig? If you're a consultant, influencer, author, or speaker, you don't want to miss that one tomorrow morning. Hello, everybody. My guest today is Jack Peterson. He is the co-founder of a company called Augur. Jack, are you ready to take us to the top?
I'm ready.
All right. So tell us what Augur does. What's the the business concept and how do you make money?
So Augur is a decentralized prediction market platform. We operate, or our platform exists on the Ethereum decentralized network. And I'm happy to go into some detail about what Ethereum is and kind of how that works.
Yeah,
if you like.
Give us, just to put context here, guys. So this has to do obviously with kind of the rising tide of kind of blockchain, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. So relate your company, Jack Augur, back. How does it relate back to Ethereum, which is it's basically a blockchain, correct?
That's right. Ethereum is a blockchain. So what makes Ethereum interesting is, so Bitcoin is, was sort of the first blockchain, and it's just intended for sending payments around, right? Ethereum is a blockchain that is interesting because it's somewhat more flexible. It's a blockchain that you can upload programs to, and then people on the network can execute these programs by basically paying a small fee, and that's what Augur is. Augur is actually it's a set of these programs or smart contracts on the decentralized Ethereum network, the blockchain.
Yep. And if you guys want to learn, Jack, I'll give a real quick connection. We actually had one of the founders of Ethereum on. His name is Anthony Delorio, he was ex-Toronto Stock Exchange. That was back in episode 758 about a week ago. So go listen to that if you want more of the backstory on how Ethereum was created. And Jack, pick us back up now. Tell us specifically how you interface with Ethereum.
So we are a set of smart contracts, or Augur is a set of smart contracts on top of Ethereum, right? So anyone can upload programs, aka smart contracts, to Ethereum, and then anybody on the network can run them. And that's actually that's all Augur is. It's a set of, I think we have about 30 of these smart contracts that they have all of the business logic and data storage and so forth needed for Augur. Basically, it's sort of like a decentralized database.
So sell my audience right now. Assume you're on a webinar with 10,000 people. Why would somebody listening right now go use Augur?
Well, they couldn't yet. We actually are not live yet. We are finishing up our public beta test. It's been going on for about a year now, and our smart contract code is undergoing security audits.
So Jack, tell me how they would use it if it was live.
Okay, yeah. So basically, you'll just go to Augur.net, and there will be a link to access the app. And our aim is for it to be, the experience to be very similar to just accessing a regular website. Ideally, you won't be too aware that you're using this special decentralized application. What Augur actually is it's a prediction market platform. And what that means, basically, it's a venue to bet on anything. You can bet on any real world event. So the example I like to use is politics. Politics has historically has been sort of the prediction market niche. And the way this works is you might have a market on Augur for something like, will Donald Trump win the election? This is a past event, but you could create so
anything in the future. Who's going to win the NFL next year?
Yeah, who's going to win that? Who's going to win the Super Bowl next year? How much rain will there be in San Francisco this year? What will the stock price of IBM be? Opening bell of 2018. Really, it can be anything. It's sort of bounded only by what users can come up with. So you create a market, and the market itself functions basically like any other trading market. You can trade, you can buy and sell shares of the event. The idea is, so say we're betting on, I don't know, who's going to win the Super Bowl.
So Jack,
and the price
let's be really specific here, because I'm a little lost, and which means my audience is definitely lost. Let's say
okay, no, that's not good.
No, that's okay, but it's okay. This is like a new thing. This is more me struggling to ask the right questions than it is you explaining it. So this is not your fault. Let's assume I go to Augur and I'm literally I guess I click a button and I say, I am going to bet $1,000 that the Patriots win the 2018 Super Bowl. How do people take the story from there?
Okay, yeah. So you access augur.net, but for the sake of this story, we'll say that someone has already created a market on that, right? So
what's a market? What does that mean, a market?
It's just something you can bet on, right? So it's something where you can take a position on it and place a bet. So
it's like a mini board. It's the bet. The market is the actual bet. The market is, hey, I think the Patriots will win the NFL in 2018.
That's right. The market is the thing like on which you're placing the bet.
Okay.
So like if you went to a normal, so let's use the example. Let's sort of run with this example of the Super Bowl. So if you went to like a normal sports book, they would have, one of the things that you could bet on would, I guess, be the winner of the Super Bowl. And that is what I'm calling a market on Augur, right? So who will win the Super Bowl? That question and its associated outcomes, any of which you can place a bet on, is the what we call the market.
Got it. Very helpful.
Right? So now you can, the way it works is, you can buy or sell shares of any of the outcomes, right? So the way this works is basically if you want to place a bet on something, you buy shares of it.
So I buy 10 shares that they're going to win by 20. The Patriots are going to win the Super Bowl by 20 points.
Yeah, so you could, if that was the market, then yeah, you could buy 10 shares of that.
Okay.
And the way that the shares work is, so say that those shares are currently, maybe they cost 40 cents a share.
Who sets the price?
The people in the market set the price. So you're not trading like with Augur. You're trading with other participants in the market. Normally, the person who initially creates the market will set up an order book, right? So they'll have initial buys.
So let's say I set up the market, and is the order book basically like I'm going to write 10 different outcomes. They win by 20 points, they lose by 10, they win by 1, it's a tie, and then I say the number of shares kind of per bet and come up with a price point for each just randomly.
So you could set it up like that, or you could for the Super Bowl specifically. I mean, one way to set it up that might be sort of intuitive is you could say just who will win the Super Bowl in 2018, and you could have like the Patriots. I'm not a football guy, so I'm not sure who's likely to win, but like the Patriots, the Broncos,
the Redskins,
the Falcons.
Cowboys, Falcons,
the Redskins. And so say there's 5 different outcomes, and then maybe you'll have a catch-all other outcome too. And so if I think that so say you set up the market, and you have some idea of how likely you think all these different outcomes are. Right. So you set up the order book initially for each of those outcomes. Right. So you've provided some liquidity to the market. Now say I come to the market and I'm convinced that the Broncos are going to win. But you've set up the market initially so that the Broncos say have a 30% chance of winning, or the Broncos are priced at 30 cents per share, which should mean that they have a 30% chance of winning. I'm like, well, that's underpriced. I think they're a sure thing. So I could place a bet on the Broncos by buying shares of that outcome. And the idea is that if the Broncos
you're buying the shares I own for 30 cents, but you're paying me more for it. You're buying them for 70 cents.
Well, I'm buying whatever people have for sale, but say it's just you. Just keep it simple. You have some shares available at 30 cents, and maybe you also have some shares available at 40 cents, 50 cents. If you're the person who set up the market, I could buy as many of those as I want. It's as sure as I am that the Broncos will win. So the way it works is if the Broncos actually end up winning, and the idea is that a share becomes worth $1 or 1 Ether per share owned. And if the Broncos don't win, then the value of one share of Broncos will close at zero. Right, okay. So you're really betting on how likely the outcome is to happen.
How does this get its initial, do I have to attach my BB&T account to this market when I set it up, and you take a grand of United States dollars out of my bank account to fund this in the beginning? Part of what I'm trying, the struggle I've had with all of the interviews I've done with crypto is how this actually gets back to money I can touch in my pocket.
Okay, let me do sort of a more concrete user journey type thing. Okay, so you're someone who's not involved in crypto. You want to participate in Augur. Okay, so what you do is first you need to get Ether or some other cryptocurrency, but let's just use Ether. You need to get some Ether with, say you want to buy it with your credit card. So there will be a button on Augur that just will take you to a third-party site where you can do that. It'll be either ShapeShift or Coinbase, but basically there are sites that do that for their main business. We're not actually involved in converting U.S. dollars to anything else. We don't get involved with money transmission or anything like that. We don't distribute Ether either. So you would actually buy the Ether from a site like Coinbase. So I'm not sure what your level of familiarity is with the ecosystem overall.
Yeah, we know Coinbase.
Yeah. So Coinbase, a big company, as far as I can tell, trustworthy company, and you can use a credit card or a bank account to buy Ether from them, and then you can use that. You can use that Ether to participate in Augur. You can use the Ether that you buy on Coinbase to place bets in Augur markets.
So you're not controlling any like people listening right now in the US who are like, how do I actually do this? They have to use something like Coinbase to put up their cold hard cash they make from their full-time job to buy, I'm making this up, 5 Ether. They can then take which are basically coins on the Ethereum blockchain. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. They then take those 5 Ethereum coins and they can go look at things to bet on. Like I have right now open because it's very easy to go when I click sign up on Augur.net. It says who will win the NBA finals. There's a 0.5% maker fee, a 1% taker fee, and the volume is 33,000 shares. So continue the story, Jack. I have 5 Ether and I want to bet on the Cleveland Cavaliers in this one. How do I do that?
Okay. So, say you've already got your Ether.
Yeah.
And you already have, so in the final version of Augur, you'll be able to do the actual
act like it's complete.
I'm sorry.
Tell the story like it's complete exactly how you want it to be completed.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you go on a site and you can pay with PayPal.
Yep.
Right. It's like a sort of an embedded thing. It takes you to a PayPal interface. It doesn't actually take you away from the site.
Yep.
Augur will have little plugins like that. There'll be one for ShapeShift and one for Coinbase. So that'll be how you'll buy in. And that will just deposit money into your account or deposit Ether into your account. So you'll have converted US dollars into Ether and you'll be able to see the Ether in the interface. So right now, if you look in the upper left-hand corner of the screen, if you've signed in, the test site will just give you free money, which is nice, right? Free money. And I believe it gives you 10,000 free Ether. And that's what you use to bet on, right? So if it was the real site, you would convert US dollars into Ether.
Got
and it would show up as a balance on that site.
Got it.
And then you can use that's the currency that you use to actually participate in the markets, to make a bet. So say you want to make a bet on the Cavaliers. So if you open, I'm not sure if you're on the market detail page or like the main listing, but if you go to the trading page.
I'm on the trading page.
Okay, yeah. So there's you can place a bet through the trading interface.
Got it. So whoever sets up the market could set it up using 3 of Ether coins, right? They then say the market has 10,000 Ether coins in it. So at the end, when you kind of even everything out and say who wins and lost, you balance it all back out to the initial 5 Ether or 3 Ether that were used, Ether coins that were used to create that marketplace of kind of 10,000 Ethers that people can bet on different things. Is that right?
So the way it works is you're actually betting against whoever wants to participate in the market, right? Now, so I think the little bit of confusion is because like the person who creates the market, they normally will set up an order book initially, right? Because nobody wants to go into a market where there's just no action, right? So if you're creating the market, you would go in and say, I think the spread should be at 0.3 or something like that. And then you would create orders, next to 0.3 accordingly. And then other people, and then I could come in and say, I want to bet on the Broncos, right? So I'm going to take some of your shares, and then you will receive Ether from me, and I'll receive shares of Broncos will win from you. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yep. Yep, that makes good sense. Okay, good. So look, I'm very curious about this, so I could keep talking to you all day about how this stuff actually works, because I think it's going to be a big part of the future. But let's have you on again another 6 months once you keep building and keep kind of building this thing out. But some quick financial questions here. So have you bootstrapped this, or have you raised capital, or did you do like an ICO or something like that?
We did a token sale, which. I for various reasons, I really don't like the term ICO
because it's not. They're not really shares, right? There's not really.
Yeah, they're definitely not. I think so. Our token is called REP, and it's involved in a part of the system that we didn't talk about. Basically, if you have REP, you have a stake in the system, not in the sense of having a stake in the profits from the system, but in helping to resolve markets on the system after. The market's complete. Yep. So like after the Super Bowl.
So you have a bunch of team members here, because I'm on your team page. Do you pay them all from what you made on that token raise? Like you pay them in cryptocurrency? So we actually, for the most part, our payroll is just in US dollars. Where do you get that money from?
But we raised money in cryptocurrency and have, converted some of it to US dollars for payroll. We raised $5.3 million in August and September of 2015.
Okay, and can we think of that at like US dollars or 5.3 million in crypto?
It was 5.3 million in crypto, $5.3 million equivalent in crypto.
At the value of that time or whatever.
Yeah, at the value at that time.
Got it.
We cashed out a pretty good fraction of it. We're still holding some crypto. Yeah, that's right.
Many of you listening right now don't have time to listen to every B2B SaaS CEO that I've interviewed. If you want to get access to the database I've created with year-over-year growth rates, customer counts, margins, and many, many other data metrics and data points, you can go to getlatka.com. Here's the thing, though. That database, I keep it to myself. It's so freaking valuable. And to preserve the quality of the data and make sure that the people that have access to it have a true advantage, I'm only letting 10 companies on each month. So we're full this month, but you can go to getlatka.com to get on the waiting list for next month. And look, there's big people on the waiting list. I mean, the biggest VCs you've ever heard of. You've probably heard of them. They're big, private equity, billions and billions under management. So it's an impressive waiting list. Go get on now at getlatka.com. Guys, big news. Last month was a huge month for the company I recently acquired, which was www.thetopinbox.com. I liked the company so much when I met the person who created it. It lets you send emails later on Gmail, set up reminders like snooze almost to keep your inbox clean, do things like send auto follow-ups, and do open tracking so you know when your emails get opened. It's great if you're in sales or a CEO or trying to be more productive. So listen, I bought the whole company on the spot, and I want to tell you how I did it. I've showed the deal, by the way, to big, smart people, private equity firms, VCs, and they're dumbfounded. They go, Nathan, how did you do this? We've never seen a deal like this. How did you do this? So I did an unbelievable deal, and I want to show you the income report. So for me to send you the income report, go to www.thetopinbox.com. Click the red button that says install this on Gmail. And when you do that, my email will appear. It'll appear in a little Gmail pop-up window. Send me an email and I'll reply immediately with the income report. And you can see how I'm buying and growing small B2B SaaS companies. That's www.thetopinbox.com. Totally free to try and use. www.thetopinbox.com. Yeah. Okay. Makes good sense, Jack. Hey, let's wrap up here with the famous five. Number one, what's your favorite business book or crypto book?
Handbook of Applied Cryptography.
Number two, is there a CEO you're following or studying right now?
Elon Musk.
Number three, is there a favorite online tool you have, like HostGator?
A favorite online tool, Ethereum.
Number four, how many hours of sleep do you get every night?
I try and get 8.
Okay, and what's your situation? Married, single, do you have kids?
Married, no kids.
No kids yet. Okay, and how old are you?
I'm 34.
All right, last question. Take us back 14 years. What do you wish your 20-year-old self knew?
What do I wish my 20-year-old self knew? Don't spend too much time on impractical things.
There you guys have it from Jack. Don't spend too much time on impractical things. He's playing an active role in the cryptocurrency space as it matures, building his company Augur.net. They raised the equivalent to $5.3 million back many months ago, cashed out on a bunch of that to make things like payroll. But again, they're building this ecosystem built on the Ethereum blockchain, right, where you can go and essentially create markets and ledgers in those markets to bet against, certain future outcomes, whether that's, a sports related thing, a finance related thing, really, Jack, any related thing in the future, right?
Yeah, any event.
Very good. Jack, thank you for taking us to the top.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
If you enjoyed Jack today, go back and listen to Steve yesterday. He's raised $18.5 million to help banks use open APIs, and he makes money per every API call. Tune in to find out how he structured that pricing plan and how he scaled.